What if thousands of ordinary women, armed with nothing but their voices, courage, and determination, stood up against one of the world's most powerful empires?
Colonial
In 1929, that's exactly what happened in southeastern Nigeria. Long before Nigeria gained independence, tens of thousands of women united to challenge British colonial rule in what became known as the Aba Women's War, also called the Women's War of 1929. This wasn't just a protest, it was one of the largest anti-colonial movements led by women in African history. Today, we'll uncover how it began, why it happened, how these women organized without modern technology, and the lasting legacy they left behind. To understand the Aba Women's War, we must first understand colonial Nigeria. By the early 1900s, Britain controlled much of what is now Nigeria. Instead of governing every village directly, the British used a system called indirect rule. In southeastern Nigeria, they appointed local men known as warrant chiefs to govern communities. The problem was that many of these chiefs had never traditionally held such power. They collected taxes, abused their authority, and often ignored the voices of ordinary people, especially women. As colonial policies became harsher, frustration continued to grow. The tax fears. In 1928, the British introduced direct taxation on men. The system was deeply unpopular. Then, in 1929, rumors began spreading that women would also be taxed. For many families, this would have been devastating. Women were responsible for farming, trading in local markets, producing palm oil, raising children, and supporting their households. An extra tax could threaten their very survival. The fear spread rapidly across southeastern Nigeria. Soon, one encounter would ignite a revolution. Nwanyeruwa's defiance. The spark came in the town of Oloko. A British census official instructed a local messenger to count people, livestock, and property. When the messenger approached a widow named Nwanyeruwa, she believed this was preparation for taxing women. She refused. According to historical accounts, she boldly challenged the official's authority. Rather than keeping silent, she informed other women about what had happened. The news spread rapidly from village to village. Women used traditional communication methods. They sent palm leaves as symbols of urgency. They visited neighboring communities. Market women carried the message across trading routes. Within days, thousands were preparing to act. A movement of thousands. What happened next shocked the British. Women from different ethnic groups, including the Igbo, Ibibio, Efik, Ija, Ogoni, and others joined together. Historians estimate that around 10,000 women, and possibly many more over time, participated across southeastern Nigeria. Without phones, without radio, without social media. Their organization relied entirely on trust, local networks, and determination. Many traveled long distances on foot. Some walked for hours just to join the demonstrations. It became one of the largest organized women's protests Africa had ever seen. Their unique form of protest. The women chose methods deeply rooted in their own traditions. One important form of protest was called sitting on a man. Despite its unusual name, it was a respected traditional practice. Women would gather outside the home or workplace of an official. They sang songs, beat drums, danced, shouted insults, mocked corrupt leaders. Sometimes they remained there day and night until their demands were heard. The goal wasn't violence. It was public shame and social pressure. The women also surrounded native court buildings and government offices. They demanded accountability. They called for corrupt warrant chiefs to resign. Many chiefs fled in fear. Some resigned altogether. Colonial officials were stunned by the size and coordination of the movement. The British response! As protests spread across the region, colonial authorities became increasingly alarmed. Some demonstrations turned chaotic. Government buildings were damaged. Native courts were attacked. British officials decided to use armed police and soldiers. In several locations, troops opened fire on unarmed demonstrators. Around 55 women were killed, while many more were wounded. Families lost mothers, daughters, sisters, and community leaders. Despite the violence, the movement had already exposed serious flaws in British colonial rule. The voices of these women could,